Okay. Happy 2026 to everyone. Mahalo for being here today. Can't believe Happy New Year. And welcome to 2026. So hard to believe. So for the new year, board member Napua Rosehill is going to read our vision and mission.
Aloha Kako, the Early Learning Board's vision is to creating a sustainable early learning system that partners with families to ensure that every child is healthy, valued, and successful in school and life. Its mission is to support children's academic and lifelong well-being by directing and supporting the ELB for an effective, coordinated, high-quality early learning system from prenatal to kindergarten entry.
Mahalo. Get to the next slide. Okay, so we have one announcement at this point. February, we will be at a different place. KCAA and the Seed Center have been so generous as to let us have many meetings here. But next month, it's not available on this date, so we will be at a different site and we will let you know where that is. Okay. I'm gonna do roll call. So Alana Souza.
Here.
You're here, yay!
I am.
How
Hi,
are
everyone.
you? How's Juliana?
She's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So great to see you. Kau'i Burgess.
I'm here.
Okay. Cheryl Kuriyama.
Here.
Okay. Dr. Soma Gandhi.
Hi.
Dr. Lindsay Heacock. She's going to be here. I know she has meetings, so she's gonna jump in when she can. Joni Onishi.
Here.
Hey. Stephanie Shipton. Not on yet? Okay. Dana Luca, DHS.
Here.
Okay. And Adisa from Department of Education can't be here today. Deanna Dolier, HAIS.
Let me
Oh, okay.
take her off so she can speak.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi,
Deanna?
I'm now present.
Okay. And I think I saw Stephanie. She's coming in, yeah?
Oh, yeah, hang on.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Stephanie, you're here?
I'm here.
Okay, thanks. Okay, and then Napua Rosehill, Kamehameha.
Ew, here.
Stephen Schatz for UH. And Stephen. Matt Shim for Department of Health.
I'm here.
Hey, hi. Ben Naki, Head Start Association.
I'm here.
Okay, great. And I know Ephraim is at a conference, so he's not here tonight. Okay, that's our roll call. Let me know when Lindsay comes in. Okay, so the next item is our December minutes. So those were sent out to you in the agenda. So are there any corrections or edits to the December minutes? Okay. Hearing none. Can I have a motion to accept the December minutes?
Aloha, this is Kau'i Burgess. I move to accept the December minutes.
Mahalo, and can I have a second?
Aloha, this is Soma Gandhi, and I moved to second.
Okay, mahalo. So we have the vote on December minutes. Any other discussion or edits? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go through the voting board members. Alana Souza,
Aye.
Kaui Burgess,
Aye.
Cheryl Kurima,
Aye.
Dr. Soma Gandhi.
Aye.
Did Lindsay come in?
Yes.
I'm here, aye.
Okay, great. Joni Onishi,
Aye.
Stephanie Shipton.
Aye.
Okay, great. So the minutes, the December minutes are approved as submitted. Okay, and then the next item is, public comments. Any comments on the minutes? People can enter in chat, right? They can say something.
No, they can use their hand.
Okay, so just to let everyone know, this is one of our security measures. So if you do have a comment on an issue and you're part of the public, you can raise your hand. That's the indicator that you can give us. We have to close chat because of security, but we can see that you want to make a comment when you raise your hand in the Zoom, okay? All right, mahalo. Okay, and so Cheryl is back, yay! So she's gonna tell us about the Board of Education meeting and also the Build conference that she went to.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I hope you can hear me. So first, I'll touch on the October meeting that I attended in IAEA. It was again hosted by the Board of Education by Chair Roy Takumi. I definitely wish that meeting was longer. The two main topics for that meeting was essentially in two parts: preschool education, the public preschool education, and also the high school graduation requirements. So I can tell that they had to really split the time appropriately. Dr. Terry Locke held a PowerPoint presentation. I believe it was the same one that she held for us earlier as a board. So that was, again, just quite interesting because, again, there was a lot in the audience that may not have been as familiar about ECE. And then again, they had speakers from the Board of Education regarding the high school graduation requirements. I apologize, I did not take as much notes in that area. But a good portion of the meeting, which I loved, was he broke up the whole group into like working sessions. Yeah, so you were there. So of course I went on the preschool side, and the biggest take back that I promise I will take back was the greatest issue, and I believe it was brought up previously, was that there are staff, preschool lead teachers who have been in the field for 20, 30, maybe 40 years, but they're not able to get certified as a public, pre-K, that is our preschool teacher. Some of them have, and you can jump in anytime, but some of them have, taken the tests maybe several times. I apologize, I don't know the exact test or questions, but I believe it's the praxis. They may miss one or two points to get certified. So they had met with someone to see what could they do to get, certified. And they were essentially told they had to go back to school for their degree. And obviously at a certain age point, going back to get your degree is not as easy. So that's pretty much what I told them I will take back. And again, just to put my other hat on as a preschool director, if there is a lead teacher out there that's been teaching for 20, 30, 40 years, I will take them in a heartbeat. No offense, than someone brand new without the experience. So we just have to find that balance between education and experience. Yeah, and then I felt like once we got into it, then we had to end the meeting. But yeah, please continue.
So I'm Deanne Goya.
Yes.
I attended that board meeting as well at IKEA Elementary.
Mhm.
So what we did state is that there are people with bachelor's and master's degree in early childhood education with years of experience in the classroom,
Oh, okay.
but they are not licensed. They don't meet the teacher licensure HTS requirement. And we do have in particular one person who attempted to take the praxis after getting a master's degree in early childhood and failed one portion of it and was told she needs to get another degree. So these are the kind of barriers that the
That they're
early
facing.
childhood community is experiencing. And you know, at the end of the day, they're not really gonna compete, so they're just gonna leave the field.
Mhm.
So we need to retain these people who have the education and have experience and figure out a way.
Thank you for sharing. And maybe for that specific person, maybe we can get them in connection with you. Yeah. Just to find out exactly, what the situation is. Yeah, so that was a consensus. Again, thank you so much. Anything else? Yeah.
And who is the person who's speaking? That was Deanne Goya. So she's a member of the public in the room with us, and she's going to be presenting later.
Awesome, perfect timing. Yeah, so again, once we got into it, I feel like we had to unfortunately end the meeting, but that was obviously a very good point to bring up. Yeah, but it was nice to see others in the IAEA
Thank you for
housing
going.
community.
Thank you.
Okay, jumping right into it, I apologize. So the Bell Conference, it was my first time attending. It was just amazing, just to be specifically in that, how would I say, realm of everyone who's just passionate about ECE. You're gonna kind of laugh at me. Okay, so the conferences, workshops were amazing, and there were so many that were on at the same time that I think all of us wanted to attend. So one suggestion, and I think we all know, is we have to coordinate. Like, hey, because honestly, like you were there was at least maybe 10 or 15 or 20 at the same time in rooms that we had to locate, which was not easy. So we have to, just try to divide our Hawaii entourage better next time. But I want to say that a lot of what I took away was actually before and after the conferences, if I may speak on this, because it's so important. So I happened to be on the table, I think it was New Mexico for one group and then Vermont for another group. So I just wanted to point out for these two states that for early childhood education, it's fully funded by the state. And what was impressive to me was that I think it was New Mexico, and I apologize, I have to double check my notes, but I think it was more than 5 years ago, definitely pre-COVID, that they put it on the ballot. So it takes time to even get something on the ballot. So that means even beyond the 5 years, to get it on the ballot, to, I guess allocate so many funds towards ECE. So from, like I said, before COVID, they already knew that ECE was important and that they wanted it to be, I guess, like almost fully subsidized for the families, but more so they focused on mental health awareness, which I thought was just so amazing for the staff. I mean, we talk about burnout today and everything. Like I said, I think it came a highlight more after COVID, but they were doing this before COVID, and I just had to applaud them. So they actually had staff that will go not just to, how should I say, not just workshops for teachers to go to, but they actually have a team of mental health, therapists who go to the preschools to work with the individual staff. So not just train the trainer with the director, but to the individual staff to make sure they don't burn out. And of course, that's a whole nother level, I would say. But again, wearing my two hats as a board member and as a preschool director, I just thought that was just amazing. Just like beyond the time, because like I said, this was pre-2019. And it's something that I feel we're facing today, which is another reason why I think some of the turnover that we're facing today in the field, in addition to, all the other reasons. But yeah, so anyway, so there are just some other states, and I know I had a conversation with you go about Vermont, that they just have, again, a whole nother, of course, it's a smaller state, I think, but just a whole nother level of how they integrate it into the budget. Like they don't have to fight as much. It's just already, I guess, allocated towards ECE. And I think that's something that we talked about before, and I apologize if I sound like I'm rambling, but if we can have everyone from the top down, right, really believe in ECE, and I think I mentioned this super in the beginning, is that, there's gonna be less crime, there's gonna be less welfare, less, all the other, social services that we have to pay for if we invest in ECE. And the states who seem to have got it going, so that's really what I want to summarize from this conference. The states who have really got it going, who are prime examples, they are doing that. They are fully investing in ECE, and hence, those are the ones that we're, I guess, trying to model. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
So I just need that, some states are there.
Yeah,
And
it's really eye-opening to get that
Yes.
national picture.
yeah,
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 because
so it's
everybody's
fun.
doing different things and is at different stages. I like to say that we can build up.
Oh, yeah. We're
And we
getting
can
there.
learn from other states. I mean, we have some things that are really awesome that are happening in our state. But we can look at other states to see what the lessons
Yes.
learned are and what would really work for our state. So, yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
so sorry, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any comments from the public? So again, you'd have to raise your hand. And there is a comment in the chat,
Oh.
which I cannot read.
Yeah. Thank you, Napua. So she wrote that New Mexico's
Thank
Early
you.
Childhood Trust Fund is approximately 300 million, and the key funding mechanism is oil and gas revenue.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
thank you, Napua. Okay, nobody in the public? Okay, we will go on. So board member updates, this is from any of our board members, and I know Dr. Lindsay has an update.
Sure. So last month, Yuko and I presented at Grand Rounds at Kapiolani. So Grand Rounds is when the pediatricians in the state get together, mainly virtually now, but get together and talk about pertinent topics going on in pediatrics. And so we went over kind of a broad overview of what our system looks like, and talked about some details of public pre-K and how to enroll our kids. And it was really great. Yuko did such an amazing job. I think it was a very well-received talk. People were very interested in all of it, but asked good questions about the type of research that's going on to assess how well we're doing in our ECE, and questions about preschool open doors and the new changes with it. And I think it was really helpful for people to be reminded about why EC is important and how we can get our kids into programs in lots of different ways. So I was just very, very grateful to Yuko for sharing all of her knowledge with us. And I'm really glad that we had the opportunity.
Mahalo. Dana Luca from DHS.
Okay, thanks, Elaine. So just wanted to mention that we posted on the HANDS website, and I can drop the link in the chat, a request for information, or an RFI, to administer and provide statewide training to early childhood professionals who care for infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and school-aged children. It was posted on HANDS on December 24th, 2025. And responses are due January 26th, 2026 at 4:30 Hawaii Standard Time. And then I can also drop the RFI number in there too. And then we posted another RFI for an organization to administer and provide infant and toddler training to caregivers to care for infants and toddlers statewide. That was posted on Hands on December 29th, 2025, and responses are due February 2nd, 2026 by 4:30 p.m. And you may submit responses to DHS, the Child Care Regulation Program Office. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was that you may have been hearing through recent media reports about potential federal spending freezes for the federal child care and development funds. And so at this time, Hawaii has not received any notification from the federal government regarding changes to the availability or use of child care and development funds that support the child care subsidies and other related programs. We will, however, continue to monitor the situation closely and will inform providers with any updates and families if the situation changes. But to date, we have not experienced issues with our drawdown for federal child care development funds. And our last drawdown was in late December 2025. We did receive information yesterday from the Federal Office of Child Care regarding the activation of the Defend the Spend and the request for additional information to be provided when we are requesting federal drawdowns in the payment management system.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. I really appreciate that update, because it is a big concern. So thank you for updating us on the federal side. And then I also wanted to make sure I understand. So the RFI is a request for information, and that information will be used to create RFPs?
Yes.
Requests for proposals? Okay. So make sure. Okay. And I see Ben has his hand raised. So Ben, you have an update?
No update. I just had a question for Dana and her update regarding the notification you guys got about the possible defend the spend. Was this the first time? Like, did you guys receive it also at the start of last year when Doge was around? Was there any did you guys experience any delays in funding during that time with the defend the spend and having to provide extra information when you guys do your drawdown?
Yeah, there might have been a little bit of a delay because they have to review the justification, but we didn't notice anything, too prolonged of it, we didn't have any issues.
Okay, so no impact to like parents and providers as far as like.
No.
Okay, oh that's good. I always worry about that because it can delay payments to families. So just wondering.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Any other updates from board members? No? Okay, so let's go to, it's I'm trying to stop share. Okay. The director will share her updates.
Hi, happy new year, everyone. Here are our January updates. So under action item number 1 for our roadmap, we have Ian.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Ian Okamoto, Workforce Development Specialist with ELB. I did want to provide an update about our National Administrative Credential program that we're offering through the end of last year. We had a total of 48 participants, and of the 48, 30 completed the program by December 30th, which was a 62.5% completion rate. We were working closely with NECPA to help us kind of monitor and track the progress of folks. And NECPA commented that many completed within 61 days, which is far ahead of the window of 100 days. So their comment was, this impressive speed demonstrates the exceptional engagement of foreign providers. I think that there was yeah, definitely a lot of interest, a lot of engagement. And while we didn't have everyone being able to complete by December 30th, the nice thing is we wanted to have that be able to be done so that we could kind of have that fall under some data that we're able to use for the PDD5 grant. But the remaining enrollees, the remaining 18 who weren't able to complete by the 30th, will still have 480 days with NECPA to be able to complete their credential. So the next slide, yeah, this just has some feedback from the program co-leaders. We asked that they complete a form to just kind of let us know about their experience. And so these are some of the comments. I appreciated the back-end business modules. Many directors don't receive training in this area. We kind of learn as we go, which can be challenging. Another comment, like years ago, I was part of Castle Colleagues. So this is a great refresher. There were some things that were new to me, like how to find your niche market, and some things that didn't apply to my level of work. The different type of business centric company. It made me understand all the different layers that it takes to start an ECE center and what it takes to run it daily. And then finally, what I gained from the NAC will directly impact my current and future work. I feel more confident in my ability to make informed decisions, support my staff, maintain compliance, and strengthen overall program quality. The online training gave me practical tools and a solid professional foundation that I can apply immediately and continue building on as I grow in the field. So with these kinds of positive feedback that we were able to receive, I think we felt that the program was quite successful. We hope to be able to follow it up with opportunities to connect the completers, because that was actually one of the things that many folks commented that they would like to be able to engage with others who had gone through the training. And also, I think, as we know, providing opportunity for folks to be able to develop a network, particularly when it comes to directors and administrators, I think is really helpful. So we hope to be able to facilitate that in the future.
Thank you, Ian. I can talk about this since we have our meeting. So we just want to give a quick update on some EOEL public pre-K facility projects. So these are all sites that already opened this year that are going to be continuing, that are going to be having their renovations this summer. There was something that was found with Keaukaha, and there's some kind of permitting requirement. So right now it's going to be placed on hold and it's not going to be renovated this summer. Then as we're looking forward to next school year and the sites that are interested, the renovations. So yesterday we learned that the numbers 11, 12, 13, 14 are going to continue to move forward. So there are 14 different sites that have been, oh, wait, sorry, Nani Kapona is not, it's just not, anyway. So these are the sites that have been cleared for renovations and opening for next year. When you look on the bottom, so some of these sites, these things have shifted around because when a school indicates their interest, they have to understand certain components of EOEL public pre-K, and then they have to go through facilities assessment. And this is when some things shift around a lot. And so the ones that are down on the bottom, potentially some of these have already shifted around. So I would say that where it says opening in August, this was notes that were from the SFA board meeting, but since then some things have changed. We just had a meeting earlier this week, so some of this is shifted around. So Waimea Elementary School is not going to have their 2 renovations. The Kealakekee number 16 That was an error in an entry on a form, so that's gonna be coming off. And I don't think I see anything else that changed as of this week. I'll also present a more current and recent update next month because we're gonna be heading into the teacher transfer period. One of the other things is that Pope Elementary School has a CIP project, and then Lynn can talk about this.
So Lane Suchiyama, institutional analyst with the EOEL. So as part of the Department of Education's CIP projects, there's a whole list of them that are to be discussed and provided an update as to the status for both the Board of Education and the legislative session coming up. So for Blanche Pope Elementary School in particular, this one was highlighted through review of the DOE's capital improvement list because there is a construction of a new freestanding building to house both the current Kayakuni program on the campus and its English language pre-K classroom. So that's how it's defined and described in the DOE's description of the program. So the design funds have already been encumbered and the construction for the project is projected to be bid out in March of this year. So that's where it kind of stands. And the graphic that's in the slide at the bottom is from the DOE's capital improvement tracker. So if anybody's interested, it is available online. Have to kind of dig around through the DOE's website, but it is available. So you can check if you're interested in any of the campuses, and then you can kind of sort through the various construction projects that are going on at each campus. But that one is the one for the design build for this particular project in the DOE's project management website that's publicly available. And then this is just from the SFA's report to its board, and this is an update of their supplemental budget request that comes from the Budget and Finance Memorandum 25-24, which announces the governor's recommendations for the executive budget for this upcoming fiscal year. So the number or what the governor is proposing for the school facilities authority is to do the lump sum CIPs for the pre-kindergarten program classrooms. So there is a special fund, which is the character B, that's about $4.8 million. And then another line item for C, which are general obligation bonds, and that's for the remainder up to altogether it's $32 million that they're authorized to spend. And just to add, this is at the beginning of the session, so it could and maybe will change, but this is what is being requested this year.
And then for action item number 4, we don't have any updates for this from December. It was 2 weeks and then break, basically.
Okay.
And then are there any comments?
I have a question. This is Kau'i Burgess. Hi, Yuko.
Hi.
Just a question on what Lane was just presenting. Do we think that those amounts are sufficient that are in the budget being requested?
I think it's sufficient to cover
What we're working on.
what we're working on.
Yes. Yeah, so this request is sufficient to cover what's currently we're working on right now
For the renovation.
for the renovations.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then moving on to family support is Heather on? Or Terry?
Terry left.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry, I can't see you.
Okay, Terry, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
now we can.
Okay,
yes.
because I've been having some problems. As you can see, my name is spelled wrong. I kind of did that. That was my mistake. Um, I wanted to get back to what Ian presented around the credential, credential. I think that's great that we have this kind of data because that's also been coming up through our last early educators leadership forum is having supports for leadership who are moving towards possibly moving from teacher role to the director role and for ongoing support for current directors, administrators. I do want to say that this also came up as an item in our this past week in our Hawaii Careers with Young Children steering team. And so I shared that it would be really good to have a work group to really analyze the data of this, but also to know what other um, supports are in place. For instance, Maui College offers a 6 credit early childhood program administration, part 1 and part 2, and that's available. And so I think it would be good to kind of think about a strategy to support this going forward, or support this, not necessarily a specific type of credential, but at least support the program administrator position. So I just wanted to share that and happy to entertain anyone who would like to have more discussion with me about that one. Again, some preschool directors are interested in being on this work group.
Are you speaking about a work group for HCYC or for?
Yeah, a work group for HCYC that can begin to think about from the voices of the early childhood educators and preschool directors and looking at what all the various supports that may already be in place or what do we need to build from. So this kind of data is really helpful. And yeah, so I just wanted to let the board know that that's something in conversation at this point.
Mhm.
Thank you.
There anything? I can't see. Is there anybody?
No,
No.
Nothing.
no.
Okay. Okay, moving on to our next section, so family support, and I think it's actually Allison. That's gonna highlight this.
I did not add the slide, but I'm happy to highlight it. So we're excited to announce the first 5 Hawaii platform was launched. It's a common eligibility screener, so families can go ahead and put in their information for their child one time, and it'll come back with all of the state and federal programs that they may be eligible for. A couple things to highlight about this platform, which is really exciting, is there's also resources for families, including like ages and stages, developmental milestones, and what you can do as a parent or caregiver to help encourage your child's development. And
Thank you, Allison. Did you want to add anything else to?
No,
Thank you, Allison. Okay. And we just wanted to let you know that whether you Google search first number 5 Hawaii or first and you spell out 5 Hawaii, it's still going to direct you to the same site. And what's really exciting, this was funded through the Preschool Development Grant, Rectify Systems Building Grant, and Hawaii Children's Action Network, HCAN, worked really hard with over 18 different programs to funnel them into this common eligibility portal for our families. So we're really excited about it. And we thank all the different agencies that chose to participate and give their time to help building this portal. And we really thank HCAN for their work as well.
It's a huge piece of system building. So yes, mahalo.
Okay. And then other systems updates. So maybe this is you now, Allison.
It's definitely me. So we are excited to announce that the EOEL did receive a notice of award on Tuesday, December 30th for the 2026 PDGB5 System Building Grant. Just a couple things to note on this slide. So I know we shared in December, our application asked for about 1.4 million. So the total amount awarded was 1.66% less than the amount we did request in our application. You can go to the next slide. And so just again, I know we shared a little bit about this last month, but we just wanted to re-emphasize that this grant is a little bit different than the previous PDG grants. So this is just a 1-year system building grant, and it's structured a little bit differently. You can see the priorities and the critical elements that make up the structure, which is different than the renewal grant, which we just completed, which had 5 different activities in it. And then just of note, the Notice of Funding Opportunity strongly emphasized the inclusion of Head Start in the system building efforts. So that is something we will be leaning into with the implementation of this grant. And then also note that the expectation moving forward is that the PDGB5 grants, if they continue to be funded by the federal government, it's expected they'll be awarded on 1-year cycles. You can go to the next slide. So here, the total approved budget for this award. So the federal share is the amount that we were awarded. And then the non-federal share is the required 30% state match of funds. And so this is kind of a breakdown of the approved budget. These numbers were pulled directly from our notice of award, but we got some clarification on these numbers earlier this week during our kickoff meeting with the federal grant officers. So the blue-gray category, the other section, what happened in the notice of award is they included our 30% state match along with our other categories. So that's why it looks so big there. So our other categories should really be reading $95,759. But otherwise, you can kind of see the high-level breakdown of the budget. And then on the next slide. So because this grant period is just 1 year, instead of the quarterly PDG updates provided with the last grant, we will be providing monthly updates to the Early Learning Board. EOEL, as the holder of the grant, will manage contracts as well as the fiscal and programmatic reporting. And we will be keeping in place the PDG support team that was convened under the last grant. The one addition to that is we will be adding EFRM to the mix, representing Head Start, since we are including them in the activities. And we just want to emphasize that this team is a valuable asset for the system-wide perspective they offer, and our monthly touch points with this team will allow us to support the current grant while planning for the next grant cycle, which again is expected to be next year. I believe that's all I have on this portion.
Yes. Well, congratulations. I know there were a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and sleepless nights to get that grant application in on time. So to all of you who worked on that, mahalo nui. That was awesome. So congratulations, your hard work is rewarded. Yay.
Thank you, thank you. And Allison, do you remember the two numbers they gave about how many applied and then how many were awarded? I think there's a 30 something and a 20.
Yeah, so there was 45 states that were eligible to apply, but again, with the really shortened timeline, that was challenging for a lot of states. So they did have 34 applicants, 23 were awarded. They did explain that the reason our amount was 1.66% less was they actually kind of scraped that from everybody so they could make one additional award in this cycle. So there was 11 applicants that didn't get it, but we were one of the lucky 23.
Allison, this is Kali Burgess. Wanted to ask if you can repeat what the 30% required state match funds
Sure.
are.
So our required state match is what you see there in that red, the $413,043.90. So that's what Hawaii State between EOEL and our partners are putting towards this budget.
Predominantly in the through personnel in kind donation. Is it it's called in kind contribution. In kind contribution is what it's called.
Allison, this is Joni. I have an ignorant question, but does this grant come from the Department of Ed?
Does it come from the Department of Ed? So on the federal side, this comes from Health and Human Services.
For Health and Human, okay.
Yes.
Any questions from the board?
Okay. And then I can share we EOEL did receive the final version of the Hawaii Early Childhood State Plan for the 2025-2030. We are in the middle of planning our public release and launch of that state plan along with our building block network. So details will be coming very soon, I hope.
Another product of PDG grant.
Yes, another product of PDG. Yes.
It was like the last thing. So we did wrap the PDG renewal grant on December 30th. And so there is a programmatic approval that we received for a 3-month no-cost extension for state plan and bonus activity. We're kind of finishing up the Q4 and annual reports for that grant. So those will be kind of finalized by the end of January. And we did do another little update on the pdghawaii.org website. So there's some more information on the grant activities and implementation there, if you want to check it out.
Then are there any additional comments or questions?
So again, if you're in the public and have a comment, you can raise your hand and then you can recognize you. I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, so the next item is we have another presentation from our from Deanne Goya, who is, I have to read because it's a long title, the Early Learning Program Director of the Hawaii State Charter School Commission. So she is going to talk to us about what they've been doing.
I'm going to share screen again. The share screen thing is not popping up. And me too, you can share with me, but I can pop it for you. If this doesn't work, we can test it.
Yeah, we tested earlier.
Okay, it's always good. Yeah, this is your moment, right?
You might have to refresh. That's what I would have to do.
Or maybe do I do the time? Okay.
Are you almost there?
Okay,
We're good.
sorry.
That's okay.
Aloha.
There we go.
Okay, my name is Deanne Goya. I'm with the State Public Charter School Commission, and I oversee the early learning program in Jones. Okay, sorry. Okay, so let me just start the why. Why do we do the work that we do? Why support high quality early learning experiences? High quality preschool helps prepare children for later success in school and in life. And there's so many studies, mega studies that show that long-term long-term studies suggest that preschool positively impacts important societal outcomes such as high school graduation, completed years of education, earnings, reduced crime, and reduced teen pregnancy. And attending preschool is beneficial for all children. Both middle class and lower income disadvantaged children can definitely benefit from high quality preschool, including those with special needs and general education students as well, dual learners, native speakers, and on. High quality preschool also helps to close the school readiness gap. That addresses and helps to address parental behaviors that influence school readiness. Attending preschool at age 4 was the most effective means of increasing school readiness of children in poverty at the age of 5. Okay, we know, I hope you know that 90% of the brain is developed by age 5. So in the early years are the most crucial period in a child's life. So we know that brain development is rapid and cumulative, and it lays the foundation for lifelong learning. So why then is only about half of our students are KK able to attend preschool? That's the dilemma. You know, there's such great benefit to attending pre-K, and yet only half of our KK are able to attend. Additionally, we have our Alice household. So those are families who are asset limited, income constrained, and employed. So really, this is our youngest adults that are just starting off their families, right, with young children. So our goal is to, together with the state, is to increase access and affordability to high quality early learning programs to address these households. And the sad thing is, this is the latest report available 2024. If we don't try and help these families, look at the bottom of the box, 37% of these households are considered Hawaii. That's happening, that's real. So if we can help to remedy some of, free up some of the their funds, hopefully they can stay. So of course, the barriers to preschool enrollment is tuition, it's expensive. There's a limited number of childcare seats, especially in our neighboring islands. There's limited access due to geography and lack of public transportation. There's lack of affordable childcare options. Language is also a barrier. Some families, you know, cannot understand how to complete the application. So that could be a barrier as well. And then of course, we spoke about the lack of teacher workforce. So our shared goal for Hawaii, together with the Lieutenant Governor's Ready Keiki initiative that Yuko has been mentioned in many of her reports, is by 2027, we meet 50% of our underserved keiki. And by 2032, meet 100% of the underserved keiki. I believe Yuko, correct me if I'm wrong, are we on target to meet that? Yeah, sounds like we are. Through the efforts of everyone's really good work. And another goal is to share the 2 educational pathways, both in Ololava'i and English. And we commit to working collaboratively with all of our community partners to address these challenges, and while maximizing the funds to expand early learning facilities. So here's our story, our journey of the pre-K charter schools. We began in 2015. We were federally funded under the initial preschool development grant. We were awarded the grant on January 1st, and we opened the first 4 classrooms in August. Wow, that's pretty crazy, right? Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I survived. And then in 2016, we added 2 more classrooms for a total of 6. And then in 2017, we provided the full grant funding, adding 12, so for a total of 18 classrooms. There was a sense of urgency. In 2015, there wasn't a lot of preschools, and I think it was the Race to the Top grant that was sunsetting at the time. And so the programs that were funded through Race to the Top, in order for them to continue, they need to have a funding source. So this was an option. Almost immediately once we started the grant, in addition to operating a federal grant, we had to think about sustainability once the federal funds sunsetted. So we worked really tirelessly with the state legislature to really help us continue beyond the federal grant. It wasn't easy. Our legislature was quite different in 2015, so it was really educating and working with our legislators to truly understand the impact of high quality early childhood experiences. So nicely in 2019, thank you to the state legislature, we were funded. We were for 1 year under the EOE pre-K program. We were able to continue funding for the 18 classrooms. And then in 2020, through the revision of Act 46, which was Act 210, our legislature gave the statutory authority to the Charter School Commission to oversee the early learning program. And at the same time, they added 3-year-olds to our the priority. They actually removed all the income priority, SPED requirements, homelessness, and just basically opened it to all 3- and 4-year-olds. And I think this is critical because so many of our charter schools are located in rural, remote areas. So being able to serve all families was critical. And then in 2023, we opened the first pre-K only charter school application. And that resulted in 1 applicant and 2 new classrooms in May 2025. So now we have a total of 20 classrooms. And then this year, through the Ready Keiki initiative, we were able to open 13 new classrooms for a total of 33 classrooms. And we were able to also start our second pre-K only charter school, Waikiki Community Preschool. Then next year, in 2026, 1 classroom is being constructed at YLI, so we'll have a total of 34. And then in 2028, we'll add 14 new classrooms, which are currently in the planning and construction phase. At Imiloa, in Hilo, Malamohono, and Wanmanalo, Konikopono, and Kauai, and Kamali, and Waianae. So in 2028, we'll have 48 classrooms. Exciting. If you're wondering why Waialae was selected, they consistently have a wait list of over 100 applicants that are underserved. So I believe one of the reasons is because they're so close to our workforce hub, Waikiki, that this is critical for our families. Here's another graphic of the timeline. I won't go through this, but you'll get a copy. Make sure you get it. Okay, and here's the map of where our pre-K classrooms are located across the state of Hawaii. We have a total of 608 slots. And we received 718 applications this year, and we still continue to accept applicants. The 2 in red are new pre-K only charters. They're at Mohalu, so Parkway Village, in Kapolei, and Waikiki Community Preschool in Waikiki. And here's charters at a glance in general. You can see in the graphic the very bottom, we have 2 pre-K only. We have 8 pre-K to grade 12 schools. 2 pre-K to, that's basically elementary school, 2 schools that offer pre-K to grade 5 or 6, and then 1 school that offers pre-K to middle school. And that's our total amount of students that we serve. We have 40 charter schools total, and our enrollment grows every year. So what what are the requirements of becoming a pre-K charter school? Number one, we have to be legislatively funded, so they will provide us with the funding and let us know if we have, opportunity to expand. Pre-K charter schools are public schools, so they must be held, they are publicly held accountable, for the dollars that are being, allocated. All entities must apply and be approved to become a charter school, and then they must become a state entity. So they must fulfill all their pre-opening assurance to become a state entity. Then they must follow all state laws. So as you see over the time, even our priority or eligibility categories have changed, and that's determined by our state legislature. So if that, our priorities change, then all of our charters must follow that as well. The benefits of being a charter school, well, school leaders are able to make these operational decisions for their school. The charter school is able to hire their staff. The operations of the school are overseen by their own governing board. And if state land is available, charter schools may be eligible to receive CIP funding through SFA, but there is, like, Yuko mentioned, there's a criteria, right? That we follow, and it is contingent on funding. The state indemnifies these charter schools, and it creates an opportunity for a public and for private mixed delivery system. So, for example, the school can operate as a charter school from 8 to 2, and then a community provider can provide the before and after care and charge tuition, by the way, for this additional services, including intercessions and summer breaks and whatnot. And this will require DHS, the maintenance of a DHS group childcare license. So we're in it together. We're really not trying to take over anybody. We're really trying to work together with all of our providers, including EOEL, to make sure that all of our TK are served. That is it.
No, Dan. Let me ask if there are any questions from the board, from board members. No questions? So charter schools, being public schools, are free.
They're free.
They're free. Yeah, I used to have Jean Zarrow, who is at Kihei Charter School, come and talk to my college classes.
Oh,
I see that Stephanie has her hand raised. So Stephanie, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm curious, Dan. Thank you so much for your presentation. What are the things that you feel are innovative practices that are happening in some of the charter preschools that are helpful to share with the system more broadly? That would be things that other schools might be interested in, or that policy makers might be interested in.
I do feel that, so every school has a mission aligned, their curriculum is mission aligned, mission and vision aligned. Every school develops their own mission and vision, as developed by their board. And then their curriculum really focuses on that. So no two charter schools are alike. So what we don't accept applications directly from the public, because we really want our families to understand the school that they're applying for and making sure that it's the right fit. So we do forward them directly to the school to better understand and to better make sure that that is the right fit for themselves and for their children. So we have many of our pre-K charter schools have our Olala'i, that's one, but not all of them are the same. They're all slightly different. We have Nihao dialects, some Hilo. Many of them are place-based, so that's one thing. And then we have a Waldorf school, and many of them are project-based, and so they're all slightly different. So it's exciting to see how the mission alignment leads to greater student success and learning, really intentional learning experiences. for the child and the family. Did I answer your question?
Cody has her hand raised.
Courtney Burgess here. Hi, Dan. Thanks for your presentation.
You're welcome.
I just had a question about, I wanted to ask if you can give an example of what the private and charter school the public charter school partnership would look like. What is that? What is an example of that?
Okay, so Waikiki is a prime example, but we have several actually. So they're 8 to 2 as a charter school, and of course, the early day could be a Wednesday, could be another day. And then if they require earlier drop-off care and or after-school care, they can charge tuition. The charter school can provide that care, or they can hire a private entity to oversee that. So a good example is Waikiki Community Preschool. So they're a charter school 8 to 2, and the Waikiki Community Center provides the before and after care, including care during the intersessions. So they are able to charge tuition. Families can benefit from like the preschool open doors funds.
Thank you. So the private, so people could still actually pay tuition while going to a public charter school.
Well, during the charter school hours of 8 to 2, it's free. Anything before or after that, yes, they could pay. But during the charter school, public school hours, it's free.
Mahalo for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from board members? Any comments from the public? Seeing none. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll go to a break now. We have 10 minutes, so we'll come back at 10 to 3. What is it? Again.
The contract.
Okay, we'll get started. Deanne, did you? Okay.
No, sorry, that was.
Okay. So I'm gonna give it to Yuko. She is going to talk, Director Yuko is going to talk about how EOEL classrooms are determined.
Hi, everyone. I'm back again, and I'm just going to give an overview of everything that kind of goes into EOEL site selection and how sites are determined for EOEL public pre-Ks. So the big overarching piece that governs EOEL is our statute. So the EOEL public pre-kindergarten program, the public schools portion. And in this portion, it says the program it has to be provided through EOEL that has to partner with the Department of Education through a MOA or MOU, which we have with the Department of Education. And then we have to implement an application process for schools that are interested in participating in the program. Before I came to EOEL, the office actually used to send out like a DOE memo or send it through emails or something like that, because I did receive it as a principal before I came to this office. But since then, it's an online link that schools can express their interest on. And we have to look at community need. So this is not all including, but it includes the percentage of the population in the school or community that meets the definitions of at-risk and underserved. So that's one thing that we consider. We also consider the availability and capacity of existing early learning programs or services for 3- and 4-year-old children. on the school campus and also in the surrounding area. We also look at the availability of a classroom, outdoor play area. And so while we are not required to be licensed for the Department of Human Services for the public pre-K portion, but like, for example, as Deanne mentioned, if there were before and after school care, it would have to be licensed by Department of Human Services. So when we look at spaces, we want to ensure that they meet the DHS licensing requirements for health and safety for 3 and 4-year-old children. And another thing that we look at that's actually really, really important is the commitment of the principal to implementing a high quality pre-kindergarten program. And this part, including through active participation in professional development sessions offered through the office. So EOEL requires a lot of the principals, the office staff, the teachers, and the educational assistants. And for the entire duration that they are a part of EOEL, they must attend. And so for some people, that's a difficult decision to make, but it is required. And so sometimes that could be a deciding factor for a school, especially if they're in transition with leadership or going to be in transition with leadership. So there's a lot of things moving there. And also promoting continuity and alignment between and across other early learning programs in the community and other grade levels in the school to ensure positive outcomes of the children are sustained. So our program shall also serve 3 and 4-year-old children who are in 2 years prior to kindergarten. So we heard how charters opened to 3s from way before we did, and then we just recently opened to 3s. With priority is extended to underserved or at-risk children as defined in section 302 L1. So at-risk children in our statute says children who, because of their home and community environment, are subject to language, cultural, economic, and or disadvantages that cause them to be at risk for school failure. This is what's as stated in our statute. So children who are placed through their individualized education programs or IEPs in a gen ed setting, English language learners, foster care, homeless, or whose family income is no more than 300% of the federal poverty level. So these are what we call our priority categories. So priority means that they are elevated to the top of the list. So when applications open, children who fall into one of these categories are placed in a priority section. The children who belong to the school that they're applying to are priority category, and we give preference to them. And then we have priority category for children who do not belong to that home school, who will not matriculate. And the reason why we take a look at that is because just because you go to EOEL public pre-K on the campus does not mean you can go there for kindergarten. If you belong there, you can go there for kindergarten. If not, you would have to ask for a GE, which is not always guaranteed. So we're trying to look at stability for the children and the family as well. And so these are our priority categories. So when you take a look at a school site, when the interest comes in, there's a lot of things that we kind of look at. We have a tracker that we use internally that lists every school in the Department of Education. We have Title I status, we have kindergarten enrollment, SPED pre-K enrollment, migrant education enrollment, site capacity, site utilization, what else is on their campus. We also look at how many applications have been received either at their site and also neighboring sites. If you look at the top right, this is a map that comes off of the Ready Keiki map. So off the Lieutenant Governor's site. And so it'll tell you the colors indicate the density of the jobs in certain locations. The larger or smaller that teal greenish colored dot is, the more 3 and 4-year-olds that are generally in that area. The triangles are community-based programs that are in that area for the families that are available. And so sometimes when we take a look at this and people are looking at like, are you gonna shut our school down or what have you? We sometimes take a look at, well, for example, here, there's 299 3 and 4-year-olds in this area. And you can look in just above and below, there's nothing here for them. So sometimes these families do travel to other areas for early learning and care, but we also get a feeling of what the families are choosing by looking at prior early learning experience when they entered kindergarten in public schools. That's one thing I did not put on here too. So we look at so the bottom left is a flyer from our McKinney-Vento. So does the school have a high population of families who are submitting MB1s? Do they have a lot of English language learners? Are there children who are receiving special education services who may not have a least restrictive environment of a gen ed setting for them to participate in? We take a look, we've been tracking longitudinally the data that's been available through Patch's website. It's trying to see like what the inflections of EOEL opening have been on the broader community. And we've been tracking that for as far back as the data that we've been able to have. But as we shared earlier, just because somebody indicates interest, at this present time, because we're gifted with Ready Keiki initiative and funds for renovations to make really welcoming places for our early learning students, everything basically comes with a school renovation. So SFA still has to do site assessments. So there are sites that, for example, are not feasible for some reason. So for example, we had a site that was taken off due to fire alarm issues. It's not a working fire alarm. They're doing fire watch at their sites. So SFA will not typically renovate that site. And then, but if they address their fire issue, then that school can come back on. There's some that may have foundational issues, some may have water issues, some may have upcoming school demo or school renovation that would not make sense to reno a room at this time. So there can be very schools that may seem like a higher priority that may not come through. And then some other sites where people sometimes have wondered why this place or why that place. But I think at the very beginning, sometimes people thought, well, that's not a Title I school. Why are you choosing that site? But when you take a look at the broader community, so the first thing is that EOEL has priority category, but it's not exclusively for students who are in those priority categories. So that's why we have our priority application period, and then we open it up to other folks too. And so these are some of the things that we run through when we're thinking about certain sites. This is kind of neat that Deanne showed hers because this is our story of EOEL. But as Deanne mentioned, the legislature, the beginning parts of EOEL, like sometimes it was very difficult to, I guess it seemed, and I was not part of this organization at that time, but it seemed like it was kind of challenging to get some seats. Like it was very difficult to ask for a classroom here or a classroom there, or can we have a few here and a few there? So you can see like it started with 20 classrooms, then 21 classrooms for the next 3 years. Then we got 5 more classrooms and got 26. Then we got 1 more classroom. And then we got 10 more classrooms. And then we know that the landscape shifted once we had somebody who really valued early learning, and that's our current lieutenant governor. And when the current lieutenant governor stepped in, there was, and this was before I had come into EOEL, but there was wide request for EOEL public pre-K classrooms. And that when I came in at the tail end of 2022, I saw the list that EOEL had collected at the time. I believe it was at 28 sites. And then when I started to become part of Ready Keiki meetings, there was this other list that had more than 55 plus sites of people who were interested in public pre-K spaces. And so that's how we had started to kind of sift through the list. But, you know, some of the sites, for example, that were on there, they were maybe not the first to open. Like there's one site that was that had been a part of that 2022 list that I saw that only just opened last year because of some facilities and some moving parts and, you know, what have you. So the coordination with the Department of Education and Facilities definitely is an interesting factor that is very prominent in this whole process. But the end result is really excellent because there is equity across all of the schools in terms of what the rooms look like, what they are provided, what they receive in terms of support and materials. So that has remained constant through all of this. And so you see the huge offering later. So before, what I believe EOEL would do was that they always had schools that were interested, but they would have to rank them and then just be like, oh, we can only give to this, we can only give to 5 of you, or we could only give to 1 of you. But now that we have somebody who's very supportive of trying to increase access and opportunity to our families, more seats have been given to EOEL. And just in the scope of the broader picture, so, you know, at the very beginning, I called this an ecosystem. It's because EOEL doesn't function in isolation. We function with Department of Defense schools, Department of Education, special education schools, EOEL schools, charter schools, community-based schools. But right now, when we're looking at the seats that are currently available, this is what the pie looks like. So even though EOEL and charters are expanding, currently we hold like 11% of the inventory statewide, and the rest is distributed, as you can see here. The one part that Deanne had also mentioned that's not here are also those who are unserved. But a great thing that's actually happening right now is that we look like we're on the trajectory to hit our first benchmark in 2027. 50% of the currently unserved total of children back in 2020 will actually have a seat by 2027, or actually before that. Thanks to everybody who is providing new opportunities. Like she talked about new charters opening. The Department of Defense is opening some new sites. EOEL has some sites. Some community-based people are opening some sites. I saw some pop-ups of some new programs in like where I live because it showed up on my algorithm on my Facebook. So so we know that community-based providers are opening too. And so I think that when we look at EOEL site selection, it typically always starts with the leadership. You have to have a willing leader. For what EOEL demands of principals, office staff, teachers, and educational assistants, they have to have a willing leader, or the setup, it does not work. And then after that, do they have space? Is it a viable space? We also, a couple of other things that I didn't mention on this site though, on this page is also the kindergarten prior early learning experience. And then we also look at kindergarten entry assessment data to see how well their students are entering at the different sites they're at. And we just kind of take all of these things into consideration. There have been sites that have asked for more than one room that we have not approved in the past. But as you can see, when you're looking at the sheet that has the yellow line of Barbers Point running through the middle, that's because Barbers Point is what we call a new school this year. It's a brand new school. Like IAEA has 99 children applying for 16 spaces. Aina Haina has 77 children applying for 20 spaces. Alawai 68 children for 18 spaces. Alpha Scott 78 for 20 spaces. So there's a lot of need out there. And so as families are also placed on wait list, we offer them a low to no cost brochure that talks about all kinds of other programs that are available out there to families, including subsidies. And we help to guide them to the next best place or another place, hopefully, that their children can enroll. And so this is just a high level overview of the things that we take into consideration when people express interest in opening a EOL public curriculum.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board?
I have a question. I kind of see this, and I apologize, I didn't ask this sooner. I kind of see each space like a, tuition subsidy, and as a preschool director, I have to fill out monthly attendance. Are we tracking attendance?
Yes.
And how is that going? And then, sorry, I asked because, no offense, maybe obviously it's different at every school, but I noticed some of the families who do get sometimes nearly free preschool tuition, they have the worst attendance, sadly.
I do not have the number for you, but
Yeah, later.
yes, it's available.
Okay, but good. Yeah. So I gather attendance will take into effect in terms of whether they keep their space or not.
So no, we do not. So there, as part of the public pre-K, there are some like I'll call it like exclusion. So we cannot exclude children from the opportunity, even like if it's based on behavior or other kinds of things. So we're not permitted to do that.
Got it. Okay, because it's state. Yeah. Yeah. And that's good. I mean, that's good. Yeah.
And Ben has his hand raised.
Hi, Yuko. Thanks for the presentation. What I'll ask, I got two questions. The first, I think I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway, is just around, are you guys still is Head Start on the campus still being something looked at in the evaluation process of where you guys are opening up preschools? I know that's been a concern, and we've talked about that in the past. And then the second question is, when the principals submit their applications, do they indicate where the staff is going to come from? I'm kind of interested to know if do they have staff that's already highly qualified, licensed teachers for early learning? And then how is it impacting the private childcare workforce? Are people coming from the private side, getting their license and leaving the private sector and then coming into the public sector to teach? Just wondering if you guys have any data on that. Thanks.
Right. Yes, thank you, Ben. So previously, when I first came into EOEL, if the school had a Head Start on campus, we did not touch the site at all. But what we realized is that, there are some schools that have a kindergarten enrollment of like 80 to like maybe 100 plus kindergarten children. And one Head Start is not going to serve all of those children on that school campus. And if principals are still reporting that the children are not attending any type of early learning activities, then that's something that we have to think about. So that's where we look at kindergarten enrollment and also SPED pre-K enrollment. So that's one thing. The second thing, so schools that indicate interest, right up front, we tell them the credentials that are required for teachers. And so there are some instances. So for example, the schools that have requested Hawaiian language pre-K, that is one space where we have said, do you have somebody in mind? Because that's a little bit more challenging to recruit for. All of them have told us yes. So that's one part. The second part for the other ones, the principals have ideas about people. So principals, so every year they get a projected enrollment. The projected enrollment determines how many staff you can have on your campus. And there are also some, I would call it rules in place for HSTA, tenured teachers, and the way that they can move around. And so some principals, so there are certain times when HSTA contract trumps credentials. So for example, if I'm a tenured teacher on a campus and all the probationary teachers have already been bumped out and the open space is in EOEL public pre-K, I must have a slot someplace. But that's where our office comes into play because we help everybody to become licensed. Now, when we talk about credentials, so one of the things that we're thinking about, and I think Cheryl spoke about this, but in a little bit of a different way, the Department of Education has specific credentials and the way that of what they require of their teachers. So first of all, we'll start from the lowest rung. If you want to be a substitute teacher, you have to pass the substitute teacher course. And in some places you have to have at least the bachelor's, but in some places not, but those are rare, hard to fill locations. Then what we've actually come into contact with are people who have bachelor's in early childhood education, who have been working in the department, and because they have a bachelor's, they can actually get a permit as they make progress towards their state approved teacher education program. But they can only be in a permit for 3 years. After that, you cannot hold a permit and you can only be a substitute teacher. Or you can become an educational assistant if you want full-time employment. So we have come across people who have a bachelor's in early childhood education, maybe worked in early childhood somewhere before, have exhausted their 3 years of being on a permit, and are now sitting in long-term sublines. But that's where I think sometimes when we talk about, oh, it's just a sub, it may not be just a sub. It's somebody who's having a difficult time getting into a SATEP program so that they can become licensed for early childhood education, because the master's programs they do not accept every year, and there's no post-baccalaureate right now. And so these are some workforce challenges that we work through, but we get them connected to our stipend program. We get them on the path and journey as soon as those pathways open up for us. And the whole time they're still being coached and being mentored and being a part of our professional learning communities. So that's only for the part that are, I would call them not HQ. But the other ones are HQ, or we get them to be in the pipeline to become HQ because there's a very limited factor for them.
Yeah, thanks. I think with PAC and the charter school, and the licensing requirements are kind of interesting. And I know we talked about this early in the meeting about the trying to that 3-year time limit on the permit kind of creeps up on you, especially when, and sometimes it's disheartening when you have bachelor level ECE teachers holding an emergency permit and they have 5-10 years, but after 3 years their license work and they don't want to go back to school, right? And I understand it's a licensing thing. I'm kind of wondering, is there any talks about looking at I don't know, alternative provisions, or just looking at HTSB standards regarding preschool qualifications?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I totally understand what you're talking about, because we feel the same thing too, with people who have bachelor's degrees. So the one thing that I think people should know is that this HTSB requirement is not like exclusive to pre-K. This is like for anybody and anybody. So if you taught at a private school and did not complete a SATEP program in any other degree or field, you'd still have to do SATEP. The one thing that happened for early childhood, I think it was back in 2017, was, for example, I have a SATEP in elementary education. So previously, people could take a praxis to add the early childhood field to my license. So previously, before 2017, I could actually add a field to my license through a praxis. but that was voted down back in 2017. And so because of that decision, people had to go and get another bachelor's or had to try and go get another master's or another master's or something to add the early childhood field to their license. So this is strictly for people who already have a license and now are trying to add a field. So anybody who's coming from outside, the DOE requirement is still state approved teacher education program. But you know what's interesting about that, Ben, that I think is a systemic piece that we've been looking at is when you enter the university system, we split people right off, right? We either channel them for a bachelor's in early childhood or we channel them to a SATEP program. And this, I think, could potentially be addressed if we bring it kind of closer together. Because if you go the SATEP route, I can teach anywhere. If you go the bachelor's in ECE route, you're going to have to do something else later. From my understanding is that they might be similar in many ways. And so my wondering has been, I wonder why we don't come together on that so that we can create a more seamless pathway for the early childhood educators and not ask people to do more later if they want job flexibility. But I think that's still up for discussion right now.
Yeah, thanks. I just got one more comment because I know you had talked about tenure teacher and you know that kind of trumps you know requirements and stuff like that. I worry about that because teaching fifth, sixth graders is a lot different than teaching 3 and 4-year-olds. So I know everybody here understands that and whatnot. So I think I worry about that, and I'm not discrediting any teacher out there. They're hard workers, they know their stuff and whatnot. The concern I think is you know that option to have somebody, you know, it could be even older school age, a teacher teaching older school going into a preschool classroom. So anyway, and then I just want to go back to the Head Start question. And then we've talked about this before. So I know I think my concern with the Head Start being on a campus that UEL is coming up is the intent of all of this is to expand slots. And the worry is that if Head Start is displaced from a campus, then that campus is not expanding slots. That campus is basically changing the 20 kids, the 20 slots that's on campus to a different provider, right? So I don't know. I don't know. There's a solution or whatnot, and we've had meetings, you know, offline about this and whatnot. But I worry that the expansion efforts are truly just expanding Ready Keiki when it really should be expanding the community slots. And if Head Start's on a campus and they're displaced because of UEL pre-K, I don't see that as an expansion effort. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. You don't need to respond because we've talked about that before.
I think that's an important issue though, Ben, and I don't mind speaking to that here. So one of the things that Ben is speaking about, there are 3 instances that I think I can speak about that are actually uniquely different. Or there could be 4, but that's okay. Let's just talk about 3 of them. Where so in one instance, Head Start was on a campus. The school was busing their special education pre-K children to another campus because the rooms on their campus were on second floors. And so they needed the room for their sped pre-K children. And especially because we know about DOE bus transportation challenges. And so that principal asked Head Start to leave. So EOEL in that case was trying to find Head Start another location. There's another school and this is a broader early learning conversation. So there is a school that has a Head Start on their campus and an EOEL public pre-K on their campus. And because of the credentials that are required in community-based schools and how it's a little bit different than an EOEL public pre-K school, an EA on a public school campus was able to become the lead teacher in a Head Start classroom. And from a public school principal position, it gave them a little bit of pause in terms of what kind of learning environments are happening in the room simply based on credentials. And so I think that that's something that people should think about. And then there's one other location where a principal had a concern because the hours of operation are a little bit different with Head Start on a campus. So what was happening is when families were coming to pick up the children, they were taking the rest of their children with them, which means taking them out of school early. And so it was having a ripple effect across campus. And so we've just been really trying to build these kinds of relationships and understandings between principals and Head Starts and help them understand and know what kind of professional development and learning and ongoing coaching and mentoring is happening for both Head Start and EOEL teachers. But this is where some of those decisions come, but I would say that that's not because specifically like EOEL was trying to bump out a Head Start. And of course, principals can also make interesting decisions on their own too, because that's another situation we've had.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Dana has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I have a couple of questions. First off, Yuko, thank you for your presentation and thank you for the information. I appreciate that graphic that you had about that pie chart and how many community-based providers as opposed to public pre-K, charter, etc. So I bring this up because we do hear from providers who say that, they're either having to close down a classroom because they're losing their qualified teachers to work in public pre-K classrooms because, the benefits are better, pay is better. So I'm just wondering if you folks collect the data, when they're hired, if you collect any data about like what's their prior employment history. Are they coming from community-based preschools, or where are they coming from? And then also, we get reports from providers that say that, they're also having to close down classrooms because they're losing enrollment. Families are deciding to put their children in, no cost care, which is, public pre-K or charter. So just wondering if you guys are also collecting that kind of data. And I'm thinking that, if these are real issues, that we could use this data maybe to get support from legislators.
Yeah, so thank you, Dana, for asking those questions. In terms of hiring, so EOEL secures the positions, but the principals are the hiring, and the Office of Talent Management is the official hiring entity. We can ask to see if we can see that from them, but they do not furnish it to us, and we don't ask for that. That's one thing. Then the second thing about enrollment, so one of the things that we have been trying to track is, on the Patch's enrollment document, and then the inflections of when EOEL opens a room. And we haven't seen like the relationship between EOEL opening 25 classrooms and then the enrollment dropping. So that's something that we have heard a lot, but we cannot see data wise. We do have people apply from all kinds of schools, like all over the place. But I think that this is where we talk about, do we promote family choice and are we trying to help people stay in Hawaii, or are we trying to, like, it's sometimes it's very difficult to figure out, how do we support all? Because if we tell families like you're not allowed to move, or if we freeze people's employment, I don't think people would be happy with that. So I think that that's something that like largely we would have to ask. I think the part that EOEL pushes on is looking at preschool open door subsidy. And also, how do we get providers to be able to get the max subsidy based on the true cost of care versus how much they're currently charging? So I don't have to talk about my granddaughter's preschool because I've talked about that 10,000 times, but my granddaughter's preschool was only charging like $850, but they were an accredited preschool. I feel like they should have gotten the full 1,500, but because they say they only charge $850, that's all that they can get. But we all know that that's not the true cost of care, and the employees are the ones who are giving the subsidy from their pay. And so how do we actually remediate that by acknowledging the true cost of care? And even if we wanted to start with DOE pay parity as a simple back end, like we can get you the starting salary of a DOE teacher, the starting salary of an educational assistant, starting salary of a office assistant, and people can start to run at least rough numbers to really talk about how much it really costs, so that everybody can actually take advantage of their subsidies, which are through preschool open door subsidy and other CCDFP.
Stephanie has her hand up.
Thank you, Yuko, for this presentation and everybody for the questions. I'm curious, this is making me think about our legislative priorities as a board and our legislative agenda. And I'm curious how we might want to revisit those to consider bills that are moving that support community providers to be able to provide parity in benefits and pay, so that when we're offering choices for either employees, staff, and or families, we're giving them choices that are real. So for example, if you are an early childhood educator making $16 an hour at a program, and a DOE public pre-K program opens up and suddenly you're eligible for better pay and more benefits, like that's not a real choice. That's a survival choice. So what can we do when we think about this upcoming session to really prioritize, alongside our own budget requests, the bills and initiatives that would help community providers access the range of things that they need to be able to support their staff to stay?
I think one of the bills that we can look for is reintroduction of the apprenticeship and expanding the apprenticeship model. So I think you're hoping to introduce that bill. So if we supported it last session, it didn't get through, but all the way through, it got pretty close. So we'll see what happens this session. Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Before did you want to say anything else?
Whatever the board priorities are, we support them.
Yeah.
We've always supported the apprenticeship bill.
Yeah. So that's one, and then the other, we talked about the true cost, and so I know that ECAS, Early Childhood Action Strategies, and city and county are working on a true cost of quality study. So they're trying to get information from childcare directors about the true cost of their programs, which includes a lot more besides the staffing, also rent and overhead, their utilities and insurance, yeah, a lot. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And going along that line,
yeah,
one of the things that we all heard was that rent can be a huge draw on the revenue of community-based providers, and that's why we went in to amend our statute to say that we can utilize that same Head Start contracting model on DOE property into other community-based, other state properties someplace else, so that we can maybe potentially help to reduce that expense for community-based providers. So it's not going straight at pay, but if you can free up your funding and not have to pay commercial rent, then maybe that could be a possibility for some people. And so that's what, as the school facilities authorities now start to look at preschool hubs, that is going to be another shift and opportunity for community-based, I would say predominantly community-based programs moving into the future.
So those preschool hubs could contract with a provider
Yes.
to run, and then their facility costs or rent would be
Reduced.
reduced. Okay.
And so the language, so previously the language was called pre-plus contracts.
Okay.
But when you look in the definitions of 302L, there's no words called pre-plus. So it's broadened to be called early learning facilities, which can support from 0 to 5. So we could also, if these places could also host infant and toddler care as well, which we have heard is very difficult due to their ratio.
Yeah, that's, and operating costs. Yeah.
So while it's not a direct, like, let's get them paid more, we have been looking at ways to try to reduce cost and expense on the community-based side. So trying to see like what is possible within a state agency to support a mixed delivery system in Hawaii.
Any other questions from board members? Any questions or comments from the public? Kaniulani has raised her hand.
Aloha kako, Ku'ilani here again from Ahapuna Leo. Wanted to say mahalo to the board members for bringing up the topics that were discussed today. I really appreciate the different perspectives that are coming in and a little bit more thoughtful of a process in how we're opening up and serving the community with our early learning spaces. I just wanted to echo the concerns that I heard about the Head Start programs on DOE campuses. We too, along with other private providers, do have spaces on DOE campuses. So I'm happy to see that's part of the evaluation process. But I would really like to hear more, hopefully in the future, about what that evaluation process is. Is it just noting that there are some, or is there an actual assessment of the seats available via Head Start or private providers? And then will that be supplanted the next year, or is there an actual expansion in the number of seats available? Mahalo to Stephanie for bringing up that idea about choice. I think anyone that's worked in communities with under-resourced individuals and families knows the real meaning of what choice is and what different things need to be considered in order for that to be a real choice for a family or an individual. So likewise with the staff being needing to choose between a profession or a job with an organization or with the state, families are also facing similar choices there. So I just wanted to highlight that side of it. And then finally, I just wanted to highlight for those pre-plus contracts and when the EOEL is looking into supporting community members, not that that's not a huge priority, but we already are able to utilize state facilities through facility use agreements or other types of contracts with the actual facility directly to provide the programming. And they are typically at reasonable rates. So I just wanted to say that that is already happening. I don't know if that changes at what level that priority would be for you folks. Mahalo nui.
Well, any other comments from community members? Oh, Terry Locke has raised her hand.
Aloha. Yuko, I really appreciated what you shared, and I think the conversations that ensued has helped us to see the complexities of access, including workforce. And I do want to say that the our preparation programs in the university is really trying to, of course, keep up with the demand. And I think one of the things I think you brought up was so historically, without the public pre-K, there wasn't a need for teacher licensed, ECE teacher licensed individuals. And now with public pre-K, that has opened up a door where those who have a bachelor's would need a teacher license. So we are really open at College Fed. We've been working on a draft regarding a post-bac, and also would like to share with you that University of UH West Oahu has also been working on getting a license for their ECE bachelor program, which would be a new program. And they were the ones that actually had the non-licensure program that really supported our community-based programs who needed or who wanted to hire bachelor level teachers. So I just like to say that higher ed is also trying to keep up with the changes and demands, and would love to have ongoing conversations about this. And then the other is we've done so much research in our compensation design team, along with about all the various types of strategies for wage supplements and apprenticeships and so forth and so on. I think the main thing is if we look at, I know we are envious of what New Mexico can do because they have resources that really support their universal child care. And that's what we need. We really need more public investment. And I think this is a really important conversation to continue to have because we know that our early childhood education professionals not only need to be qualified, they also need to be paid well so they can stay in our islands, but also have have a life that they can be comfortable with too. So that's all part of professionalism. So I just want to say thank you for the conversation. I want to thank everybody who participated in this part because I think it means a lot. Anyway, from where I sit, it means a lot to have this type of topic brought up. So I want to thank the folks who brought it up last meeting so we can have it today. So mahalo.
Any other comments from the public or any other questions from board members? Mahalo, everybody. Let me go to share my screen so I can remember how to do this. Here we go. Okay, so we are now, that was our last item for the day. And our outcomes for the agenda, we have just one item that was voted on, and that was our December minutes that were approved. And we have a lot of good information shared. For announcements, at least from board members, what I want to say for the next meeting, and maybe it'll run into March, what I plan to do is to extend an invitation to the variety. Who's going to help me compile who should be in this invitation, but including, of course, Punana Leo and Kamehameha. And there are other programs that our charter schools have immersions. So, so we as a board and the public have a better a bigger, the picture of where Hawaiian immersion is, with the acknowledgement that Punana Leo has laid this very strong foundation, and then all these other programs have emerged to support the Hawaiian language and culture. And for me, having lived through the, and watched the Hawaiian Renaissance from the 70s, it's been, a really amazing 50 years. 50 years, that is like, I'm old. Anyway, so that's for the next meeting. So those of you in Hawaiian immersion can look forward to getting an email from me. And then, are there any other announcements from board members? Okay, and then from the public, I know that Charter Schools is having a conference, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's on March 7th, and also on the same day, the Hawaii Association for Education of Young Children Maui conference is happening. I think they're still securing a site and stuff. So I know those are happening. Are there any other announcements from the public? Okay, not seeing anything. Mahalo nui again to Christina Coxon for being able to use the Seed Center, and Lynette for her tech support, and Kevin for his tech support. And I do have a quote from James L. Hines. And he said, every daycare center, whether it knows it or not, is a school. Choice is never between custodial care and education. The choice is between unplanned and planned education, between conscious and unconscious education, between bad education and good education. And just, so I think it's a good thought-provoking quote, and I want to leave that with you. And again, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next month. Hey, mahalo.